Hi girls, these are some examples for 1B. When I do these problems, and we've already talked about it, I would look at the number part first. I can see that that can't be simplified, so I'm going to leave it there. And then I'm going to look at just how many A's there are. Remember we did that the other day where we wrote down all the A's, expanded? You could do that, and I'm sure you can see that it's 5 minus 2. And here it's 7 minus 2. Notice that everything ends up on the top because most of these were on the top. But that stays like that. You could also write it like this, because next to is the same as on the top. Alright, this is the one we talked about today, kind of, where to simplify it you have to factorize the top. I think I'll use a pencil. So I'm going to factorize the top. Remember, to hold that place, you've got to put a 1 there. Don't forget that. That's a common error to leave that out. Since I'm multiplying right here, I'm allowed to cross that whole thing with that whole thing, and I end up with 2x plus 1. You could put it over 1, but not necessary. All right, let's add these. To add, you need a common denominator. So I'm going to build this fraction up and say I multiplied by 3 there. So I have to multiply by 3 here. Multiplied by x there. Have to do it here. Add the tops. Whoa, that was wrong. Add the top, keep the denominator. This is a harder one like that, where the common denominator looks like this. These two things multiplied together. I think I said earlier that that bar is a grouping symbol, so it's actually like having these in brackets, so I'm going to do that. And when I have these two brackets next to each other, of course it means to multiply. I'm not going to multiply them out. I'm not going to do that foiling multiply thing. I'm just going to say, what did I multiply there? Well, I multiplied by this. So I'll multiply by that on the top. And what did I multiply here? Multiplied by this factor. So I'll multiply by that on the top. In the numerator. Okay, so to simplify, expand. Expand. Put it under the same. And then I can combine like terms on the top. And I always leave this denominator in this kind of factorized form. Do not multiply it out. All right, in the enrichment part of your book, they give this little situation, and I think you need to think for a minute. Pause and think for a second about how are these the same. All right, so if I do this, and I say plus, and I take a little negative out of here, that would make that negative 1 plus x. So I guess I'm saying to you, is this thing here the same as that? You know, if I say negative times a negative is a positive, negative times a positive is a negative, I think they're the same. And I could rewrite that so it looks like that. I could say this is 1 over x minus 1 minus, that's this sign here, 2 over x minus 1. Is that all right? X minus 1, just wrote it the other way. So that's negative 1 over x minus 1.